But I mean, when you talk about this matchup in general, you know, Conor's jumping in the deep end on the pool with this one. But at the same time, if you're Conor McGregor, you have to go for the heights because you need something to wake you up out of bed. When you have a fight like this is something that wakes you up in the middle of the night and have you running 5 or 10 miles just to make sure you do not get embarrassed on your return.
This clip immediately shows us the absolutely career-defining mountain that Conor McGregor must climb, and we're talking about a challenge that could either resurrect his legend or completely destroy it. He's plunging into treacherous territory against an opponent like Max Holloway, who represents the absolute pinnacle of today's featherweight elite. The commentary emphasizes McGregor's fundamental need for monumental stakes, something powerful enough to drag him from his multi-millionaire paradise back into the soul-crushing grind that championship-level preparation demands. But here's what's fascinating. This isn't about financial motivation anymore, not remotely. The man's wealth is already secured beyond imagination. This battle is purely about pride, legacy, and proving something profound to himself and the world, driven perhaps most powerfully by his deep terror of a humiliating comeback that would stain everything he's accomplished. This creates an incredibly compelling emotional foundation right from the opening, showing us that even someone who's conquered everything and amassed unimaginable riches still hunts the specter of potential disgrace. It reveals the competitive fire that burns in truly elite fighters, that relentless drive that never extinguishes regardless of success. Yet this raises a crucial question about whether that burning spirit alone can overcome years of competition absence against a top contender who's been constantly evolving his craft.
Or just the shadow of one.
I think Conor lives a certain lifestyle that we've all seen, and then you can kind of tell that it's not for show, it's really his lifestyle. And Max lives a complete different lifestyle, where I've never seen Max at a club drunk. You never see him on the headlines for anything bad. That guy lives a different life where he's gym, family, gym, family, gym, family. I think that's going to pay the biggest dividends, because you could be away from the sport 5 years, come back like nothing happened if you live that life.
The speculation has transformed into undeniable reality that the entire MMA universe cannot ignore. Conor McGregor, the fighter who literally revolutionized this sport and changed its trajectory forever, is returning to competition, and the significance of this moment is staggering. What makes this so compelling and frankly dangerous for Conor is that this represents no carefully orchestrated comeback against a selected opponent designed for easy victory. This isn't a rehabilitation fight or gentle reintroduction to competition. This is a direct collision with blessed Max Holloway, and the implications of that matchup are enormous. We're discussing the fighter who has completely ruled the featherweight landscape for years, who has repeatedly demonstrated his excellence against the division's absolute best competitors. The pressure surrounding this bout exceeds anything in Conor's storied career, and that's remarkable considering his participation in some of MMA's most significant events. His entire legacy, every achievement and iconic moment he's created, hangs in the balance. A single poor showing could completely alter the narrative surrounding his career. The monumental question overshadowing everything is whether Conor can genuinely reverse time and silence critics who claim he's finished, or whether Max Holloway will cement his own legendary reputation by demonstrating that even the greatest champions eventually fall. This impossible dream fight that the MMA world dismissed as pure fantasy has become our stunning reality at UFC 329, presenting two legends from different generations in ultimate collision, with one defining question that will shape both careers forever.
Shit, the man's been fighting nothing but the best. So this is far from an easy fight for Conor McGregor, and I respect the shit out of him for coming back at 38 years old with apparently hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank account, and fighting Max Holloway that's been so active.
This section absolutely emphasizes Max Holloway's incredible, almost inhuman competition frequency and the consistently elite caliber of his opponents. We're talking about a murderer's row of the sport's most lethal competitors: Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, Ilia Topuria, Justin Gaethje, Alexander Volkanovski. These represent far more than quality fighters. They're absolute assassins at the highest level. This transcends simple activity with lesser opposition. This constitutes a relentless gauntlet against the planet's best repeatedly. Max has been continuously sharpening his abilities, adapting to diverse fighting styles, and evolving through every championship-level encounter, learning and growing in real time against the sport's most dangerous athletes. Conor McGregor, in stark comparison, has been largely missing from active competition, observing from the sidelines while the sport progressed without his presence. His most recent legitimate contest occurred years ago, which represents an eternity in mixed martial arts timeline. The analysis shows genuine respect for Conor's courage in accepting this challenge despite approaching 40 years old and possessing enormous wealth that provides every justification for permanent retirement. However, courage alone cannot secure victory in this context. Experience against today's elite competition, against the modern evolved game, determines outcomes. The fundamental question strikes deep. Can Conor's heart and determination overcome 5 years of accumulated inactivity against a weapon that's been continuously sharpened against the world's finest opponents?
Never seen, ever, somebody come back from the injury he had, which, shin was shattered in a million pieces. We've never seen somebody come back from that and look like they did before. Anderson Silva was never the same guy. Chris Weidman was never the same guy.
The lifestyle disparity between these two fighters is way more than...
This represents far more than celebrity gossip or entertainment news. It's a fundamental factor that serious fight analysts must examine when making predictions. A competitor's daily routine, their lifestyle choices, everything they do away from competition when nobody's observing directly impacts their career longevity and performance when the spotlight burns brightest. Max Holloway represents the embodiment of consistency and discipline, serving as living proof that dedication compounds over time, that making correct choices daily accumulates into something extraordinary. While Conor has absolutely earned his luxurious rewards through his achievements, the lingering question persists like smoke in the air. Can someone maintain the total commitment required at elite levels when they've already achieved everything? When they've already conquered every mountain? The mental strength necessary for elite-level daily training, pushing through pain and monotony and sacrifice, can be compromised by distractions regardless of how glamorous or justified those distractions appear. Max's laser-focused existence ensures constant evolution and adaptation, staying current with the sport's progression. Meanwhile, Conor has been managing the consequences of fame, fortune, legal complications, and intense public examination that would destroy most individuals. This transcends simple questions about training intensity during fight camps. It's about who lives the authentic martial artist lifestyle, who pursues mastery as existence rather than employment. The octagon brutally exposes every shortcut, every indulgence, every preparation compromise with nowhere to hide when that cage locks.
He kicked me and I just couldn't throw my damn kick. And I'm like, fuck, oh my God.
You just couldn't do it, huh?
At one point, maybe in the second round, I threw it, but I threw it like so scared. It barely touched him, and I'm like, oh my, I can't do it. I couldn't throw it. So it affected me way more than I thought it was gonna affect me until I was actually under the lights. It was, it's like PTSD, man. Like, it was super traumatic, that whole event. So.
This segment reveals one of the most serious and potentially career-ending physical obstacles confronting Conor, and the gravity cannot be understated. The described shattered shin transcends a simple broken bone that heals and disappears. It represents career-altering trauma that permanently changes fighters. The analysis provides sobering historical examples through legends Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman, and these aren't random comparisons. Both men were absolute legends and dominant champions who suffered similar catastrophic injuries, and critically, neither was ever truly the same dominant force afterward despite determined comeback efforts. This establishes a grim precedent, casting an ominous shadow over Conor's potential return to form. It strongly suggests a physical ceiling, a limitation that might prevent him from ever reclaiming the explosive dynamic fighting approach that made him champion. This transcends heart or determination. It's about cold, unforgiving physical reality. The question becomes almost philosophical. Can Conor McGregor truly defy history and the examples of every fighter before him with this injury? Or is he walking into a trap set by his own past?
To me, the biggest X factor, Chuck, is that they're going to get Holloway to go to 70, right?
Right.
And I don't know how his power and everything is going to translate up there. That to me is an X factor.
So Max for sure is a volume puncher, but at 55, when I fought him last, he had power.
Max Holloway.
Max's fighting record represents more than impressive statistics. It's a detailed blueprint of constant evolution, showing a competitor who never stops improving. Each battle against top-tier opposition creates a harder, smarter, more resilient fighter who has encountered every possible challenge. He's faced every conceivable style and obstacle the division could present, refining his approach under the brightest lights and highest pressure situations that exist in combat sports. Conor's absence, while potentially allowing physical recovery from injuries, has also meant missing this absolutely critical growth period in the sport. Mixed martial arts hasn't remained static waiting for Conor's return. The sport has advanced significantly. New techniques and strategies have developed. Overall competition levels have risen substantially, and fight pacing has increased dramatically. Can Conor simply return to competition after this extended absence and expect to compete at the same level as someone who's been consistently battling the sport's apex predators month after month, year after year? It's a question of current relevance versus historical accomplishment. The respect for Conor's courage in accepting this challenge is unquestionable, but the harsh realities of elite competition weigh heavily against him. The gap in high-level activity isn't merely a statistic, it's a chasm that cannot be easily bridged.
All the difference.
But now they're doing it at 170, so he was already pretty developed at 55. I think 170 is going to be no problem for him. He's going to have even more power.
I always got a guy in Max Holloway that's going to be moving all over the ring, all over the octagon, using all the real estate he can, popping those punches, trying to make Conor miss. This could be a fight where we see Conor McGregor come back after 5 years off and get frustrated in there.
This powerful, brutally honest first-hand account perfectly demonstrates the profound psychological damage left by experiencing a leg break, and this cannot be minimized. The speaker, a professional fighter who understands these implications, describes the absolutely terrifying experience of being unable to execute a kick despite completing rigorous training and physical rehabilitation. The instinct existed, the conscious desire was present, he wanted to throw the technique, but the body, and more importantly the subconscious mind, completely froze in that crucial moment. This transcends physical limitations or improper bone healing. It's deep-seated trauma, a catastrophic response to career-threatening injury that your brain refuses to forget. This personal testimony makes Conor's challenge incredibly tangible and immediate, bringing it home in ways statistics cannot capture. It's not simply about bone healing and medical clearance to compete. It's about conquering a massive mental barrier that could emerge at the worst possible moment under the brightest lights when millions watch. How do you fight effectively with trauma haunting your shin when every kick, every check, every movement could potentially reignite the nightmare of that injury?
I think it's a tougher fight for Conor to fight Max.
Yeah.
I think Conor's a sniper with that left hand and could probably put Chandler away to where I don't know if he's gonna be able to do that with Holloway, and Holloway's got cardio for days, and we know that.
The consequences of such catastrophic injury extend far beyond the physical realm of bones and tissue. A shattered shin carries enormous psychological weight that fighters must carry into battle. Elite competitors rely completely on instinct, on unwavering, absolute confidence in their body's ability to perform under extreme pressure without conscious thought. When that fundamental trust breaks, when it's betrayed by catastrophic injury, when every technique becomes subconsciously accompanied by trauma's ghost and pain's memory, it fundamentally transforms their entire fighting approach. The fear of re-injury, even if completely unconscious and unrecognized by the fighter, can manifest devastatingly through hesitation in crucial moments, measurable power loss from incomplete commitment, reluctance to fully release techniques as before. Legends like Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman, despite their incredible mental toughness and warrior hearts, visibly battled these demons upon return, never quite becoming the same fighters. Conor McGregor's entire system and what made him special relies on explosive movement, dynamic power, and aggressive, damaging kicks that kept opponents guessing. If that foundation becomes fundamentally compromised at the subconscious level, if he cannot fully trust his leg anymore, how much of the notorious fighter can truly survive? This transcends bone healing and medical clearance. It's about the mind's capacity to forget trauma, and fighting minds remember everything, especially pain.
None of us make believe that this is going to be the best version of Conor. Okay? 10 years ago, which we'd have to think is a better version, we don't get better with time. 10 years ago, Conor, who beat Max, barely got through all 15 minutes. An active, hungry, poor...
The discussion shifts to Max Holloway's move to 170 pounds, highlighting this as a significant variable that could completely alter this fight's dynamics. Max has always been recognized primarily as a volume striker, someone who breaks opponents down through sheer output rather than single-shot power. However, the speaker who previously fought Max acknowledges that he actually possessed legitimate power at 145 pounds, even if it wasn't his primary weapon. The implication becomes fascinating and potentially terrifying for Conor. With proper time to develop his frame at welterweight, with months to add muscle and strength without weight cutting, Holloway could unlock more devastating power than ever displayed before. This isn't simply a weight class change to facilitate a fight, it's potentially an evolution in Max's entire offensive arsenal, making him a more dangerous and versatile striker who can both overwhelm with volume and finish with power. The trauma described becomes a silent opponent, often more formidable than the actual person standing across the cage. Imagine years of ingrained muscle memory, throwing kicks with complete abandon and confidence, suddenly overridden by primal re-injury fear living in your subconscious. Training in controlled environments with trusted coaches and partners allows convincing yourself you're fine, that the leg has healed. But facing a skilled, aggressive opponent actively seeking to exploit weaknesses, trying to hurt you, potentially targeting that leg specifically, represents an entirely different universe where truth emerges. This segment presents the strategic nightmare that Max Holloway could create for Conor, representing a fascinating stylistic matchup to analyze. Max's fluid, water-like movement, his ability to utilize every octagon inch without getting trapped, and his constant striking from angles are specifically designed to make opponents miss and crucially frustrate them mentally. The analysis suggests that Conor, returning to competition after 5 years away from this competition level, might find himself deeply frustrated by Holloway's incredible elusiveness and relentless pace that never allows breathing or thinking space. This transcends a physical test of conditioning and technique. It's a mental and emotional crucible. The question becomes critical. How does the more mature 37-year-old Conor react to such sustained pressure and potential frustration? Max Holloway's welterweight journey isn't some desperate money grab or risky gamble to create a fight. It's natural progression for a fighter who has systematically cleared his division and achieved everything possible there. Having actual time to properly build muscle, letting his body naturally fill out the frame and acclimate to the heavier weight class means he won't sacrifice his legendary cardio for power. Instead, he could bring both attributes in abundance, significantly altering the entire fight dynamic in ways favoring Max. If he can add genuine knockout power to his already relentless volume striking and granite chin that's never cracked, he becomes an even more formidable, perhaps unsolvable challenge for Conor. This clip offers blunt, unfiltered assessment that's difficult to dispute. Fighting Max Holloway simply represents too great a challenge for Conor McGregor at this career stage, and accepting this fight presents an obstacle that's simply too significant. The analysis draws contrast with Michael Chandler as potential opposition, suggesting convincingly that Chandler would provide a significantly easier matchup due to Conor's sniper-like left hand potentially ending things early in exchanges. The crucial distinction changing everything is Max Holloway's absolutely legendary conditioning that seems endless, never depleting regardless of pace. This directly targets one of Conor's long-standing, well-documented career weaknesses. The implication is clear and brutal. Conor cannot replicate an early knockout against someone like Max who's never been stopped, and he'll struggle tremendously in extended affairs reaching championship rounds where his gas tank historically fails. Max Holloway's fighting approach represents complete psychological warfare mastery, systematically grinding opponents down. He doesn't just strike and move, he dictates fight location. His ability to maintain distance when desired, pepper opponents with accumulating strikes, and drain their will over time is absolutely unmatched in the sport. For Conor, whose historical success often came from early dominant finishes in the first 2 rounds, a prolonged, frustrating battle against a moving target who won't remain stationary could be his complete undoing. This segment provides a brutal reality dose that cuts through hype and hope. The speakers explicitly state what many think but won't say. None of us can realistically believe Conor can fight 25 hard minutes, and none should expect this to somehow be the best Conor version we've ever witnessed. They remind us of crucial historical context that's damning. A younger, more active and hungrier Conor barely survived 15 minutes against a much less experienced Max Holloway who was still developing his abilities. This historical context completely dismantles any romantic notions of a peak Conor returning like some mythical comeback story, instead grounding the entire discussion in harsh truths of age, inactivity, and past performance that cannot be ignored. The comparison to Michael Chandler highlights the strategic stylistic mismatch making this fight so difficult. Chandler, while an absolute monster and dangerous fighter, is known for his aggressive, often brawling approach leading to wild exchanges, which can actually favor Conor's counterpunching power and precision. Max represents a completely different beast entirely, evasive like water, relentless like machinery, possessing a gas tank that seems to defy human physiology. Conor's sniper left hand is legendary, putting people to sleep for years, but can he consistently land cleanly on a moving, defensively sound target for multiple rounds when he's never possessed great cardio? Max's ability to absorb punishment, his tested chin, and his forward pressure mean that even clean counter shots might not be enough to finish him quickly or stop his momentum. The stark, almost jarring lifestyle contrast is laid completely bare, highlighting what might be the most fundamental difference between Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. As fighters and men, Conor's certain lifestyle, implicitly understood as absolute opulence, public indulgence, yachts and whiskey brands, celebrity appearances, represents a dramatic departure from the disciplined, monk-like existence, defining a prime-hungry fighter at their peak. Max Holloway is depicted as the ultimate professional, the gold standard of martial artistry. His life is simple, focused, almost religious in its dedication. Gym, family, repeating like a mantra. This isn't anecdotal observation, but profound commentary on sustained dedication over years. The speaker argues compellingly that Max's unblemished focus, his life allowing almost seamless return to peak performance even after hypothetical 5-year absence, exists because his foundation is absolutely unshakable, built on rock-solid principles that don't erode. The question becomes haunting. Has the glitz and glamour, all that fame and fortune, dulled the edge of the once hungry challenger who would do anything to win? The deep end that Conor's jumping into isn't just about Max Holloway's considerable skill and proven championship abilities. It's about navigating perilous waters of inactivity after years away, overcoming devastating leg injury that would have ended most careers, and carrying the crushing weight of expectation that comes with being Conor McGregor. For a fighter whose entire persona and brand is built on dominance, spectacle, and being the best, anything less than spectacular, highlight reel victory is perceived as failure, not just by fans but probably by Conor himself.